Hi, my name is Daniel Gaines, and I'm a certified recreational therapist with Assisted Independence. I was asked to talk about my experience kayaking, and more specifically about the adaptive equipment usage and implementation, as well as the intended and expected outcomes for a kayaking program for participants. I would like to begin though by sharing why I chose recreational therapy as a career. We are trained as recreational therapists to notice abnormalities, provide accommodations, modifications, or compensations to ensure that our participants have the highest possibility for a successful experience. I discovered recreational therapy through my own need for services. Survived a near-death work accident in 2016, resulted in a spinal cord injury and a traumatic brain injury. I say that to say that the right side of my body has had partial paralysis, and because of that, it's left me with some challenges in my function and ability to perform as a recreational therapist. It's a long story, and I don't have time to share the ins and outs of it, but I say that to set up the context for what would transpire in the first 2 kayaking trips, which I was a part of at least 4 trips last summer. Nate and I, my boss, communicated about the possibility of the need for accommodations and modifications for my personal setup so that I could be a leader as a recreational therapist on our kayaking trip, the first of many to come. Nate was very accommodating, bringing active hand grips, stabilizers, and even purchased angle oar per my request. But when reality set in and we got to the river, the stabilizers got in the way of my full range of motion, and the active hand grips didn't allow the full usage of the oar that I needed. And when it came to the angle oar setup, well, I still think it was installed incorrectly, but that's neither here nor there. On top of that, my physical weakness proved to be a little bit more of a challenge than we were hoping it would be. An outsider looking in might think of me as a participant rather than a leader and a recreational therapist. However, with some adjustments and some modifications to my rotation of the oar, I managed to keep up with the group. The second trip was a little bit better, and we learned that the stabilizers were a non-starter, and with a little bit of awkwardness, I was able to push through and managed to improve my standing in the group from near the back to somewhere in the middle. However, there was an unpredictable participant who did tip over my kayak. By the time the third trip ended, I was not as exhausted as I was during the first 2 trips, and my muscles were not as sore for as long in the days after that trip. So by the end of the 4th trip, I was very much a leader and an asset to that experience, and I finished near the front of the group rather than the middle or the back. My message is with a little bit of belief, perseverance, grit, and patience, adaptive kayaking, and indeed any adaptive programming of any kind can be successful, can lead you to the intended and expected outcomes of fulfillment in a novel activity, accomplishment, and beating and overcoming your physical and mental barriers. Perhaps the best outcome is proving people wrong that doubt you. Remember why you provide recreational therapy. When you or your participant feels like giving up, be an encouragement, and remember that with willpower and a little bit of adaptive ingenuity, there's almost always a way to succeed. Thank you.